Welcome to Vicious Whispers with Mark Tullius, your source for horror, sci-fi, suspense, and all things violent.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Vicious Whispers with Mark Tullius. Another short episode because I got a lot of shit to do. Not only have I just spent the last 3 days reading Trend Diet Meadow Spire Mall for the very last time, 170,000 words. I think I caught 2 little things, which is awesome. We did it all. PW did an incredible job. Same with our editor, Lindsay Smith. But the three of us together, I think we put together a pretty good book. PW did an amazing job with this story. So I'm thrilled to release it. It is the biggest one in the Try Not to Die series by some 50,000 words. Yeah, so I think you guys are going to dig it. Goes back to 1998. Go to the mall. Things get crazy. Creature, horror. I think you're going to love this book. That's what I've been doing the last couple of days. Tonight, in a couple hours, I get to go to my daughter's play. It's the first night for her play. I'll probably see it 3 of the next 4 performances. I'll probably take one off. I'll be going with my parents and my son on Saturday. And I might go tomorrow night as well. We'll see. But I'm excited to see it. I really like seeing her up on stage, seeing her up with all of her friends. So that's pretty awesome that she knows what kind of people that she likes, the ones that she gets along with, the ones that inspire, the ones that make her want to get up there on stage. So that's super cool. Be doing that tonight. Yeah, all I've been doing is a lot in preparation for trying to die at Meadow Spire Mall and the current giveaway I have going on, which is pretty awesome. Oh, before I forget, stick around for the end of the short episode. We will have a story from Twisted Reunion at the end. This week will be out there. I like that one. I wrote that one when I used to drive back and forth to Las Vegas every goddamn week. Well, I lived in Vegas and then I would work there, graveyard shift or late night shift at Juvenile Hall. I would drive all the way back to California, work 3 days in California, and drive back for 4 days in Vegas. And so it was a mess. And it was a lot of driving, a lot of caffeine. And that's where the story came. So, but back to important stuff. We have the new Trend Not to Die giveaway. This is round 2 in the fight for first place. The first giveaway, the winner was Grandma's House. It won by a good amount of, it almost doubled both Brightside and the Pandemic. Pandemic came in second and Brightside was third. But this time we have these 3 books. We have Trend Not to Die in the Wizard's Tower, which is fantasy. Trend Not to Die in the Wild West, which is Western. And Trend Not to Die at Ghostland, which is horror. Try Not to Die at Ghostland is currently free on Amazon. So pick that up. I believe it is free the 24th through the 28th, something like that. Just double check before you pick it up or just buy it. It's like $4 full price. Come on, give me some money. And Duncan, I had to share it with him. God damn it. I hate that part of it. And, we have the cool giveaway going on. You can get there. You can find it on my social media. 6th through 9th place wins a free Try Not to Die ebook. I know, $4, big deal, right? So I always feel bad even giving away those emails to people like, oh, you won something that costs $4. But if you get 5th place, you get a Try Not to Die paperback of your choice. 4th place, you get the paperback plus a beanie. There's a couple different beanies you could choose from, Try Not to Die beanies. 3rd place, you get the paperback and a shirt. You can do this one or with the bullet holes. This one has an X on the back. There's a bunch of different combinations. You go to the website and pick what you want if you win. 2nd place, even cooler. This is my favorite hoodie. I wear this one all the time. If this is the new design with the bullet holes, yours will not come with all that cat hair. That's just special for me. And Fight, Survive, Repeat is what's on the back of the new shirts as well. So that's the hoodie. Then first place looks out because they get their choice of blanket. They either get the Try Not to Die with the spider blanket, or I think there's 3 other variations. There's also just the regular Try Not to Die black one. So it's that plus a $50 Books of Horror merchandise box, which is pretty fucking cool. Before I forget, I screwed up when I sent out an email to the ARC readers. We had a lot of people that signed up to be an ARC reader for Meadow Spire Mall and my future books. I really appreciate it. I sent out the emails, I screwed up, and so about half of them didn't get the email and it went to spam. So if I promised you an ARC copy of Trying to Die at Meadow Spire Mall and you are seeing this and you did not receive yours, please send me a message. I will fix it. Right now, there's probably a way for me to figure out who got it and who didn't, but I'm so strapped on time. I just do not have time to do a lot of things. I even had to back out of something on Sunday. So I was kind of bummed about this. I joked about it before on here saying that, so there's an event this Sunday in Long Beach with Evan Boffman to celebrate Trans Night in a dark fairy tale. We're dress up and have some cool contests. It was going to be fun. I joked about not wanting to go, but I was planning on it until I remembered. I was like, oh shit, this is at nighttime. I think it starts at 6 or 7. I do not do well at nighttime, but that time at night, that's one reason why I wouldn't train jujitsu at night. My anxiety is pretty high. I'm fucking tired. I was telling Evan, like, my brain is not working that well. It's not working full speed. I definitely feel slower. I don't feel confident. Definitely don't want to be doing a reading. Don't want to be around a lot of people. Don't want to be around a lot of noise. And so I had to cancel. He's going to do it. I appreciate that he's going to handle it. But I have to really be conscious of my limits. There was some stuff that happened during the week, and I don't even want to get into it, but it was kind of disturbing. Just dealing with my memory type stuff, loss of memory, a little memory blip that might have been nothing, but enough to shake me and get me back thinking about TBI, CTE, all that kind of stuff. Definitely one of my fears, something I got to deal with, but I'm feeling awesome. Anyhow, I don't really feel like getting into all of that depressing talk about my brain health. My brain's been feeling pretty awesome. I have been doing the hyperbaric chamber a lot. Also been doing the tonal machine, starting to work out again. So, like, you know what? I think I've pretty much, I don't want to say I've given up on jujitsu, but for now I have to accept it is not part of my life. Maybe I'll fall into it every once in a while, but as far as my body holding up, pain levels, everything else, time, I just don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the desire to train right now, but I need to do something. And so I have found weightlifting again, slowly getting back into it, not going hardcore or anything like that. I'm more interested in mobility. Half the stuff I'm doing on the tonal is mobility type stuff, but they're good workouts. I enjoy having an instructor right there showing me what to do, telling me what to do. It handles all the weight for me. So yeah, I've been digging that. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. So I'm going to leave you guys. Like I said, I have a play to go to, still need to make dinner. Then I got to edit this real quick, get a newsletter ready for the morning. And so that I could relax. But am I going to relax? Probably not. I'm sure there's something I'm going to work on. But fortunately, I enjoy my work. I enjoy it a lot. So even reading over Meadow Spire Mall, like that was awesome because it had been enough time. I had spent time on escaping the cult, reading through the other ones, the Shadowlands, Robert's This Damned House, or Cranium. I spent a lot of time on. And so going back to Meadow Spire Mall, I had forgotten a lot of it. And it just hit that much harder. And I think this was the first time I read it really closely after it had edited, the final edit. And PW had gone back through. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. You guys are going to love it. I have all the confidence in the world with this one. It could definitely win a Stoker Award. I mean, it is good literature, good horror, great horror. But anyhow, we'll see what you guys think. If you are an ARC reader and did not receive it, please send me a message. I will let you know. I'll also put a message in my newsletter tomorrow about that mistake. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let's go out on this story. This is Out There, narrated by T. Quillen from Twisted Reunion. Later.
Out there. Daryl glanced in the rearview and cocked a thumb over his shoulder. There she goes. Check it out. Man, keep your eyes on the road, Mike said, and then turned to look out the rain-streaked back window. The small cluster of lights comprising Baker was disappearing. In another 50 yards, the lights would completely vanish, leaving them with only their headlights and the occasional burst of lightning to alleviate the darkness of the desert. They followed the curve up the steep hill, and Daryl snuck another peek in the mirror. Exactly 79 miles to Vegas. Fine, but watch the road and slow down. Stop tripping, man. I got it. Mike leaned over and checked the speedometer. Drop it to 60. I'm barely doing 70. I don't care what the speed limit is. I can't see a goddamn thing with all this rain. And the last thing in this world we need is an accident. Daryl eased up a little on the accelerator, but not without restating his opinion. We're never going to get there at this rate. Relax. There's no rush. Daryl and Mike had been sleeping together for almost a year. Their families knew they were gay, But Jimmy didn't, and Jimmy was all that mattered. Daryl turned up the radio. Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me blasted through the speakers. Mike pulled the phone from his pocket. One bar faded in and out. He figured they'd get better reception once they made it over the next mountain. Mike put the phone away and leaned in the back seat, listening to the pounding rain and Joe Elliott's voice crackling in and out. Daryl slammed the radio's power button with his palm. "The hell, you trying to break it?" Mike asked. "Might as well with all the static. Look at this car. Doesn't even have a CD player." "You can deal with it for 79 miles. "Well, it handles like crap, and it looks like it belongs to my mom." "Exactly. What do you want, a bright red convertible?" "Anything would be better than this thing. And think about all the gas we're using. This thing probably gets 15 per gallon. "Oh, now you're an environmentalist?" Daryl gripped the minivan's steering wheel with both hands, stared straight ahead, and pressed down on the accelerator. "Slow it down," Mike ordered. Daryl kept his foot on the gas. Mike punched him in the neck. With a huff, Daryl brought it down to 60. A moment later, they reached the top of the mountain and began their descent. Daryl couldn't let it go. "We're not going to get there till sunrise, and we're going to be easier to spot." Mike struggled to remain calm. He couldn't risk drawing Daryl into a shouting match when the hothead was driving. He carefully controlled his voice and said, "Maybe you just don't understand certain things. We're going to be really easy to spot if we get pulled over. And if I'm found in Cali, I'm screwed, which means you're screwed. But you got that ID. I don't know if it'll fly, and I'm not risking 10 years to find out. We're not getting pulled over, and if we do, I'll flash my badge." Mike tried not to laugh. "You have a badge?" "Yeah, I'm an officer." "You're a security guard." "I'm a security officer. I can arrest people just like cops do." Mike shook his head. "Your badge won't get us out of a ticket, and I don't want anyone searching the car. As far as gas mileage goes, you're worried about spending an extra $20. Probably more like 40, and we're down to half a tank. You're making $1,500 for an 8-hour trip." Mike turned to the window. "You need to let it go." The thunderstorm was getting worse. Rain pelted the van with a fury and cloaked the desert. Being stuck in the van with Daryl when he was in one of his foul moods sucked, but at least they were warm and dry. "When do you think I can go by myself and start making some real money?" Daryl asked. "Real money?" Mike laughed. "It takes you 3 weeks of playing rent-a-cop to make $1,500. You know what I mean. Trust me, I want you to start making the trip alone as soon as possible. I really don't want to get popped for violating. But first, a couple of things need to happen. Figure on coming out with me at least 3 more times before Jimmy trusts you. So maybe next month. February at the latest. What else? Prove to me that you can chill on these trips. I'm putting my ass on the line, letting you make the run yourself. We're talking major money here." "I can chill. I'm chilling." "I like it when you put your ass on the line." Mike ignored the remark. "No speeding, no reckless driving, no stopping anywhere but for gas, no unnecessary calls." "Yeah, that's—" Daryl cut himself off and looked out Matt's window. Craning his neck, his eyes followed something as they passed on the side of the road. "What are you looking at?" "There was a car back there." Daryl checked the rearview mirror. "They're so screwed." Mike looked out the back, unable to see through the rain. "There's nothing out there." "It was a car." Mike sat back in his chair. "Even if it was, it's not our concern." "You don't have to be a dick." "If they don't have a cell, I'm sure the cops will be by and call a tow truck for them." "They better hurry. That's not a place to break down," Daryl said. "They're less than 10 miles from Baker." Daryl shook his head. "No, man. You never heard about this area?" "What are you talking about?" You wouldn't believe the number of people that get killed out here. Outside of Baker. Yeah, at least 50 deaths in the last year. You have no idea. You're from Vegas. You guys don't care about the crazy stuff that happens out here. I'm sure I would have heard about it if 50 people got killed. Hell, I'd say at least 50, and I stopped looking it up. You want me to believe that 50 people died out here? Mike asked. They found some bones, and the rest just vanished. Some bones? Vanished? I thought you said 50 died. It sounds more like missing. They listed them all as missing, but they're dead. No bullshit. Daryl peered out of Matt's window, as if he could see something out there. Mike caught himself looking too, but the impenetrable darkness blocked everything except the 2 feet of highway to his right. Mike said, I bet it was just people leaving and never coming back. If I grew up in Baker, I'd vanish the second I was old enough to drive. Yeah, but would you leave your car on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere? Would your bones be found weeks later, picked clean, not a scrap of meat on them? You're an idiot. Daryl shook his head. I'm telling you the truth. There's something out there. Matt's cell phone vibrated. He told Daryl to shut up before he answered it.
Where the hell are you?
The gruff voice said. What's up, Jimmy?
I've been trying to get hold of you for the last 20 minutes.
We passed Baker about 15-20 minutes ago. We should... Hey, Jimmy? Jimmy, you there? Mike looked down at the cell's screen and shook his head. Frickin' T-Mobile. What'd he say? I don't know. Nothing. It's fine. Mike didn't want to think about Jimmy. He asked, So what were you saying about all the disappearances? You think it's aliens? Chupacabra? It's not funny, man. People die out here. I'm sure they do. Another vibration. Hold on, it's Jimmy again. He answered the call. What's up, Jimmy?
Did you hit the state line yet?
No, we're about 60 miles from Vegas, maybe 30 to the border.
What are you driving?
I don't know. It looks like a Dodge. Yeah, it's a Dodge.
A Dodge what?
Hey, Daryl, what is this thing? Mike asked. What model? Caravan. Just loud enough for Mike to hear, Daryl said. We could have had a Cadillac. Hear that? A Caravan.
What's the license plate number?
Mike opened up the glove box, pulled out the registration, and read off the number. Jimmy yelled,
You dumb shits. Pull it over.
What are you talking about? We're in the middle of nowhere and it's pouring.
Pull it over.
Jimmy barked. You're breaking up. I'll pull over at the rest stop. There's one up ahead a few miles. I saw a sign.
No, you ass clown. You've been made.
The signal faded, leaving Mike with a dead line. What was that all about? Daryl asked. Jimmy wants us to pull over. I think he said we're made. Are you kidding? We can't pull over. You said he thought he said we were made. Maybe he was saying something else. Like what? He wanted us to pull over. Call him back. Another vibration. This is him right now. Pull over while I have reception. Are you serious? Just pull over. I don't want to lose him, Mike said. What's up, Jimmy? You hear me?
Pull over, Matt. You've been made.
You sure? How do you know?
Paul got popped about an hour after you left. Vice swarmed the house and they knew what they were looking for. The only thing they found was the money, but Paul must have sold you out. Paul's girl told me about the bust, so I started monitoring police radio. They've got an APB out on the van. Ditch the cargo.
Tell me you're joking. Mike glanced over his shoulder, ready to see flashing lights coming up from behind them.
You ditch that stuff. Find someplace safe. Go to Vegas. Get another set of wheels and pick it up tomorrow night.
Where? Where am I going to stash it? I'm in the middle of the goddamn desert.
Somewhere someone else ain't gonna stumble onto it. And don't leave the van anywhere near it.
I know. Mike checked the side window, wished he could see more than a few feet through the sea of darkness. But how are we supposed to get to Vegas?
Use your fucking feet. Just don't do anything stupid. If you need to, you can crash at my pad.
Whatever you say, Jimmy, and thanks for the heads up. I'll find the place for this stuff, and I'll get back to you. As Mike hung up, Daryl asked, "So, what's happening?" Mike stuffed the cell into his pocket. "We need to dump the cargo. Cops are looking for the van." "Dump it?" "We don't have a choice." "Well, they won't catch us. And if they did, it's my first offense. They'll let me go." "We have 200 pounds. That's trafficking. If we get stopped, we're both screwed." Daryl shifted into park and took his foot off the brake. "So what do we do? Where do we stash it?" Mike thumbed toward the window. "Somewhere out there." "No way, man. That ain't happening. How about the rest stop?" "Too many people, and they've got cameras." Mike peered through the windshield. He spotted a line of cars a mile down the hill. Brake lights. "They've already blocked off the road." "You don't know that. There could be an accident." Daryl clearly didn't believe that, though, because he asked, "You really think they're looking for us?" "It sure as hell isn't a coincidence. Let's get the stuff out of here before someone rolls by and spots us." "I can't go out there." Mike shook his head in disgust. "I'm not kidding. There's bad things out there." "Bullshit. Even if there were, I guarantee there are worse things in prison." Daryl closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let it out. When he opened his eyes, he pulled his Ruger SR-40 from his waistband, where he kept it concealed under his bulging belly. Mike reached over, pulled the keys out of the ignition. "Put on your hood." Daryl leaped from the van without a word. Mike met him underneath the canopy of the open rear hatch. "Are we going to bury it?" Daryl asked. "With what? I didn't pack a shovel." "So where do we put these?" Daryl asked, looking at the two huge suitcases. At least they were hard shell and not canvas. "Those hills." Mike pointed toward a shadowy range running parallel with the road. "But there's got to be some rocks where we can hide them." Daryl stared through the rain. "You have any idea how far that is?" "No way." 100 yards or so. We'll be there in a minute. Come on." "No way. That's at least 300. We'll be soaked." "We're going to have worse problems than that." Mike dragged the first suitcase out of the car, surprised by how heavy it was, and then raised the wheel well cover. Before Daryl noticed, he grabbed the .38 Special he had hidden there and stuffed it into his coat pocket. "Come on, it's letting up." It wasn't, but Mike was already crossing the muddy stretch of road that bordered the highway. Mike heard the second suitcase hit the pavement, and the rear door slam shut. Reluctantly, Daryl followed, but not without finding a new combination of curse words. The complaining didn't last long. Dragging 100 pounds through the treacherous terrain and torrential downpour wore them out. Halfway to the hills, Mike set his suitcase down in a clearing. He acted like it was so he could check on his partner, and not because of the burning sensation in his arms and lungs. He heard Daryl's grunts over the rain slapping the hard desert floor, but he couldn't see him. A loud hiss sliced through the air. Mike whirled around and backed up, looking for the serpent, his hand on the .38's grip, but he couldn't see a thing in the darkness. Still, the hiss sliced through the deluge. When Daryl entered the clearing a few seconds later, the hissing stopped. Daryl dropped his suitcase onto its side. He was breathing so hard Mike feared his overweight boyfriend would have a heart attack. "God damn, this is heavy. How much farther?" he asked, between gasps, looking past Mike toward the hills. "We got a way to go. I'm tired too, but we need to keep moving. This is still too close." "We aren't gonna make it." "What?" Mike stepped onto a rock, but couldn't see over the small hill that blocked their view of the highway. Last I looked, they were all over the van. 3 cars. Mike scrambled up the rocky hill, the sight of flashing lights making him nauseous. Daryl asked, "Now what? They're going to be all over this area. What if we can make it to the rest stop and jack a car? That's the only thing I can think of." "They're going to be crawling all over it. They know we're close. The hills are our only shot." "So what then? What the hell do we do even if we make it?" "First off, we hide the suitcases. We can't get caught with this. They'll still bust me for violating, but that's better than the alternative." Mike tried to control his shivering. "Let's move before they get a helicopter out here. They'll know we're on this side of the highway." "Maybe they'll think someone picked us up." "No way. And watch where you're stepping." Mike grabbed the suitcase and dragged it up over a large rock. "Snakes are out." "Nah, they're not out now." The burning sensation returned to his shoulders. "I know what I heard." "Well, you didn't hear a snake. They hibernate in winter. Must have been something else." In no mood to argue, Mike pushed forward, leaving Daryl behind. Soaked and exhausted, Mike stopped after a few hundred yards. The rain was letting up, but that wasn't a good thing. Mike could see the cops still by the van, which means they could probably see him. The mountains, which he thought were hills, were still half a mile away. Mike crouched down, holding his head in both hands. He'd rest while Daryl caught up, and then they'd make one last run for the mountains. They could make it, he told himself. A hiss rustled in the bushes. He looked around. It wasn't rain. There wasn't a drop falling. The hiss grew louder. It sounded as if it were coming from 2 different directions. Mike stood and pulled out his piece. He wasn't scared of snakes, and he refused to get bitten and die lying on top of a suitcase of ecstasy. The clouds slid over and let the moon shine through. Even with its light, Mike couldn't see much. Sand, brush, rocks, cacti, and more sand. No snakes. He did see Daryl huffing his way up the slight incline, his face drenched, only this time from sweat, not rain. Once again the hissing stopped. "The chopper's out," Daryl said in between gulping breaths. He dropped the suitcase onto the damp sand and bent over, hands resting on his knees. "We're screwed. That hill won't hide us much longer." "We need to keep moving," Mike said. Daryl raised his arms over his head, something he must have seen an athlete do on TV. Only Mike doubted the athlete's belly hadn't poured over his belt. "Come on, Daryl, that's enough. We have to hit the mountains." Mike left out that they'd already been there if Daryl had taken care of himself. "I'm too tired. I'll leave you." "Go ahead." Daryl sat on a rock. "I can't move." "I'll leave you in the dark with the cops and the snakes and whatever little boogie monster you think is out here." "There ain't no snakes, I told you." "Well, there's something out here hissing, and I'm leaving you with it. Are you coming?" "Hold on, goddammit. I never should have come." "I didn't hear you bitching when I asked you before. You weren't complaining about making some cash." Mike picked up the suitcase, hoping it would be easier to carry than it was to drag. "We get through this, and Jimmy will put you on any score you want." That finally got Daryl on his feet. In the 10 minutes it took to make it to the base of the mountain, the helicopter hadn't advanced much. It was too early for Mike to get his hopes up, but it looked as if he might make it out of this thing a free man. Daryl might not, but that was his own fault. If the fat bastard had taken care of himself, he wouldn't be on the verge of passing out as he tried to keep up. "Now what?" Daryl said. "We hide the suitcases." Mike pointed to the small cave 20 yards uphill. "In there." Without a word, Daryl began the ascent. Mike nearly ran into him when Daryl came to an abrupt stop right outside the opening. "What the hell's the matter? Get in there," Mike ordered. Daryl whispered, "It's dark." Mike shouldered past him. "You give gays a bad name." I think I heard something. What? What could be out here? Mountain lion? Get your gun and watch your step. It sounded like some kind of hissing. Mike took a few steps past the entrance and turned around. I thought you said they were hibernating. They should be, Daryl stammered. Mike heard the low hiss, but pretended he hadn't. He turned back to Daryl. You want to make money, you want more responsibility, and you want to do the runs yourself? Why would Jimmy let you? You're afraid of the dark, afraid of snakes. What else are you afraid of, Daryl? Screw you. No, thank you. I don't do vaginas. Daryl finally grabbed his suitcase. Mike told him to take his too and put them as far back in the cave as he could. If you want your cut. Why don't we each take one? Because one of us should stay out here and keep an eye on that helicopter. Well, it looks pretty dark in there. If we both go in, we could get lost. At least you can follow my voice. I'll be right here. Come on, we don't have all night. Daryl groaned, but did as Mike ordered, and picked up his suitcase. I can't carry both of them, he said. Make 2 trips. Daryl disappeared in the cave's darkness. Mike sat on his suitcase and watched as the police helicopter circled the desert a few hundred yards away. After several minutes passed, he began to wonder if Daryl had decided to take a break. Mike took one step into the cave. Daryl, hurry up! The helicopter's getting closer. There was no response, so he cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted, Daryl, can you hear me? Again, no answer. Mike picked up his suitcase and headed down the dark tunnel, using his free hand to feel the wall alongside him. After a few seconds, he sensed the tunnel widening into a cavern. He called Daryl's name once more. A prolonged hiss echoed through the cave. Slowly, Mike set the suitcase down and pulled the gun out of his coat. When he turned in a circle to pinpoint the noise, he looked out the tunnel and noticed the helicopter's searchlight was closer. No longer caring where Daryl was, Mike picked up his suitcase and headed for the closest wall. He tripped over something solid and slammed face first into the cave's hard floor. The hissing grew louder and seemed to be coming from multiple directions. Ignoring his bleeding chin and scraped hand, Mike leaped off the floor before the snakes could strike. He reached for his pistol, but it wasn't there. He got to his knees and felt the floor. When his hand struck plastic, he realized he'd tripped over Daryl's suitcase. What the hell's wrong with you? I could have knocked myself out. Daryl didn't answer. But even if he had, Mike wasn't sure if he could have heard him over the now deafening hisses. He prayed it was the cave's echoes, but it sounded as if he were surrounded. Mike reached for Daryl's suitcase and felt Daryl's arm draped over it. He squeezed Daryl's hand. Get up, man. He shook the arm harder and almost retched when it pulled away from the suitcase and fell onto his lap. The arm had been severed at the elbow. Mike reached out and couldn't feel Daryl's body anywhere. Mike threw the arm into the darkness and heard a grunt when it bounced off something. He scrambled on all fours toward the entrance. The searchlight illuminated the cave's mouth. A sinewy hand wrapped around his neck, cutting off his scream. Mike clawed at the scaly fingers, deafened by the hissing, unable to move. He stared straight ahead. The entrance was gone. He couldn't see outside, but he knew that the cops were out there. Getting caught meant 10 years locked in a 9x9 cell. But that decade was gone.